A formal welcome, everybody, to today's session conducted by the Indian Merchant Chambers on career growth, skilling yourself and your team for personal and professional development. We have two short videos which we would like to start the session with, which introduces the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry and partners Deacon Co. May I request for the videos to be played, please? So I think we can now introduce Deacon Co as well in a short video format.
We all know that change is happening at an ever-increasing rate. The real question is, what are we going to do about it? The workplace today is dynamic, blending work, life, and play. The office isn't the office anymore. Across the globe, we continue to redefine what the workplace looks like. A place to change minds, reach our potential, and create opportunities. We all want to be recognized, valued, working. That's why Deacon Co exists. We are the Workplace Capability and Transformation Specialists. Through our workplace credentials, learning and qualifications, we create new possibilities. We offer opportunities for people and organisations to uplift and recognise skills that equip you for tomorrow, today. It's not just about work. It's about working better. Unlock new possibilities in your workplace. Visit deaconco.com today.
So I think that summarizes beautifully both the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry as well as Deacon Co. And we do have speakers representing both organizations here. We have Mr. Ajit Mangulkar, the Director General for IMC, and Mr. Sushmit Chakrabarti, who's the Business Development Manager for South Asia for Deacon Co. But before I formally introduce our speakers, I just wanted to share some of my insights and observations here in my span and capacity as a career advisor and coach in terms of what we come across with and what are the trends that we are observing. And I think everyone would agree with me with the fact that what we do, one of the first observations are what we do has changed. The workplace has been changing so drastically, and what we do, how we do, and where we work from has impacted a lot of what we need to be able to skill ourselves in the areas of. So for example, today a doctor, and I'm going to use a doctor as an example here because I think they are one of the most specialized streams. So you don't think there's any other skilling that's required. But today, doctors are available on apps, they are available on technology platforms, and they need to understand how to work with technology to be able to do this. And to be able to stand out successfully on a technology platform, they also need to know how to promote themselves. And in comes a bit of marketing, which would never have been heard of. Even I think as early as 5 years ago, doctors wouldn't have thought that they would need to know and understand technology or even think about marketing because it's a very straightforward and a structured role. But today, the role in itself is dynamic. So where we work from has changed. And while I think certainly there are people who work out of their offices and office spaces, really technology has enabled us, and the pandemic has forced us to be able to work anywhere, anyhow, and anytime. So how do we make sure that we are better secured because we are using technology, right? So how do we better enable or equip ourselves to manage our privacy? How do we know how to extract information through keywords, or how to promote ourselves using keywords? And when I say ourselves, I'm talking about organizations as well. And how, while technology has enabled us and we are benefiting from it, you know how can industry support their talent during this environment? How can parents support their children during this environment? So how we work has also changed. Are we able to communicate and collaborate in this digital world? So for example, emails and letters that were much more formal in tone and manner. Today, you find a generation using words that we haven't heard of. So there's possibly a shift in language as well. So I'm going to term it digital language, which is quite different from traditional language. There is no need of syllables when you're talking digitally. So how do we incorporate that in corporate culture? How do we, work in a collaborative environment to ensure messages are clearly communicated? So it is with this intent that I am now going to ask and introduce Mr. Ajit Mangulkar to talk to you today. Just a brief introduction. As the Director General of the Indian Merchant Chambers, I've had the pleasure of interacting with Mr. Ajit for a long time, almost 2 decades now, in past roles as well. And I think I've been witness to some of his excellent leadership here. Prior to his role as Director General with Indian Merchant Chambers in March 2018, he was with the Australian Trade and Investment Commission, known as Austrade, and with the Australian Consulate in Mumbai since 2001, where he had many varied roles across operational areas. In 2016, he moved to Austrade's FDI attraction role in the capacity as an investment manager for South Asia, and had a specific focus on innovation and technology-driven sectors. Ajit previously held the position of Austrade's Regional Manager, Finance and Administration for South Asia, and prior to Austrade, he also held the position of Group Manager Marketing in an automotive ancillary group, and together he has had over 30 years of commercial experience with exposure to industry, international trade, and investment promotion activities. So over to you, Mr. Mangulkar.
Thank you, Shireen. That was quite a comprehensive sort of overview of what I have done. Doesn't seem like 30 odd years, but thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining this session of IMC and Deacon Co. And the topic or the headlines for today's session is career growth, skilling yourself and your team for personal and professional development. In fact, today this term, skilling yourself, has become so important. None of us really knew anything about the pandemic. We never knew of what working from home really means. And it suddenly changed the benchmarks all over. I mean, as an organization, we are constantly reinventing ourselves, trying to look at newer things to do. In fact, for an organization that was purely on physical contact, I mean, for a chamber of commerce, it's all about networking, it's all about meetings and physical contacts. Suddenly we have gone into a virtual mode. I mean, overnight we had to change. I have got my IT team here who is running this program. And I think overnight we switched over to the Zooms, the WebEx, and what have you. And I mean, the whole canvas has changed for all of us. And we thought that this is an area where IMC as a Chamber of Commerce could really add value, not only to professionals, not only to companies, but also to students. And in fact, today's day and age, we are seeing students who have been at home, who are at 12th standard level, who are at FIJC or SY BCom or any of the grades you mentioned, and everything's work from home. In fact, got the management institute starting, everybody's work from home. So this completely changes the paradigm of how we look at things. And I think our association or partnership with Deacon Co couldn't have come at a better time. Basically, skilling yourself is the need of the hour. Today, whether it's at the level of a CEO or someone who's just starting in or a student, if you don't upgrade, you are out of the race completely. I mean, people who have really not looked at anything to do with technology, people who have been sort of averse to technology, suddenly find themselves that they have got to do their own Zooms, they've got to do their screen sharing, basic things, which, just means that you have to just completely change your whole thought process. And that's where, in fact, we probably got in at the right time with Deacon Co. With the kind of courses that they have to offer. We felt that this is just the right thing. And for a Chamber of Commerce, and especially for IMC, I think this was an area where there was a vacuum. And with a partner like Deacon Co, I think we have the necessary skill sets to value add to the vast number of our members. And more than that, the communities outside our membership. The student community, the young professionals, the young entrepreneurs, the young companies. In fact, I remember at one of the meetings, in fact, this was a meeting we had with a senior union cabinet minister, where we had a whole lot of industry associations and IMC was part of it. And one leader of one association who's got a very big following, but belonging to the micro and medium, small scale industry, said that, look, the big guys have got their own institutes. They can afford to send their personnel for training to the reputed institutes. What about the smaller guys, the medium and micro, who have got probably about a workforce of 10 or 12 or even 13? Where do we upskill? Hard skills is fine. You can, do it on site, but what about the soft skills? Where do we do that? And something at that point of time just, struck in me, and I said, IMC will do it for you. And in fact, the union minister at that point in time said, okay, IMC, you take the lead. And I think our partnership with Deacon Co is in that direction. And I urge every one of you who has attended today's session that spread the word. I mean, this is something which you can do sitting in your homes, but the value add that you will do to your curriculum, to your own outlook, to your own approach to how we are doing things in current world will really be worth it. And we also, in fact, I would like to compliment Deacon Co that, there are a lot of foreign universities, a lot of overseas universities who are in India, who have tied up, but somehow or the other, they have never got the arithmetic right in terms of the costings. In fact, it's always been either way out in terms of the pricing, but I think Deacon Co has got their pricing right for the kind of courses that they're offering. And there's much more in their, armory, as I call it. We're just offering a taste of it. But we want to propagate this as a combination of IMC and Deacon Co, and would want people to take maximum advantage. This is the time to actually reap the benefits of it. And I'm telling you, as a recruiter today, when I am looking at interviewing people, the first thing my questions or the interview questions have changed. I'm looking at, okay, what added skills have you got other than what I can see on paper? Have you done some upskilling? Have you been constantly sort of recharging your portfolio? And it's there in practically every recruiter today is going to look at, is the candidate constantly gearing himself up? And this is an opportunity. And we would like to offer this. Please spread the word amongst your colleagues, amongst your peers, that do have a look at the courses that IMC Deacon Co is offering. And I'm sure that, it'll go a long, long way in upskilling you. So I don't want to sort of continue more. I think I've just given the flavor. I think Sushmit is there, Shireen is there, they're all the experts in this area. But from IMC's point of view, I felt that as a Chamber of Commerce, we are bringing this to our members, we're bringing this to the community, and this is a value add we're doing, and it's coming at a very cost-effective rate. I mean, finally, of course, everyone needs to look at the cost, but here is something to really give it a try, and I'm sure it'll benefit you. So thank you so much. Thank you, Shireen. Thank you, Shushmit, for being here, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I found it very useful to, kind of make the references that you did with the IMC itself as a organization and a structure that had to move into the digital space very quickly. So I think you've already addressed the partnership with Deacon Co. And I think looking at the programs that we've been, promoting here, it has really offered the opportunities to companies and young professionals to learn contemporary topics and very industry relevant topics under Deacon Co.'s Professional Readiness and Skills Enhancement Program. So I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Sushmit Chakrabarti. He is the manager for business development in South Asia for Deacon Co. Deacon Co. is the corporate arm of Deakin University, Australia. And I think I will ask Mr. Sushmit to explain the relationship in more detail. But he himself has about 8 years of experience in relationship management and business development, and has been contributing across variable sectors in establishing corporate collaborations and strategic partnerships. With a master's and an undergraduate degree in science and engineering, his experience in BD roles has brought wider exposure internationally across the Middle Eastern and European regions, particularly the UAE and the UK. His experience includes a primary focus on strategy, strategic stakeholder relationships, business development, corporate and institutional engagements, service delivery, and people and culture. So, Mr. Chakrabarti, it would be great to hear from you on some of the opportunities provided at Deacon Co. through the partnership with Indian Merchant Chambers.
Thank you so much, Shireen, for that kind introduction. And it was overwhelming to hear Mr. Ajit speak about all that he just mentioned. And my regards to everyone attending this. Welcome all. And yes, I mean, one term that reflects almost every day, everywhere is skilling, upskilling, reskilling. And this is exactly what IMC and Deacon Co. and in fact the partnership is focusing on. There is a presentation that I have for everyone here, and mainly directed to all the young professionals, the early students making early inroads to their career prospects, to their first time jobs, or maybe people who have gained good 2-3 years of experience as well. So this is for all of them, and it's all around how relevant what are the relevant things to be done in terms of skilling, upskilling, and why is it to be done? What is the workplace dynamic today? What are the demands, etc. So let me just share my screen.
Yeah. Already the sharing option.
Can you all see my screen or?
Yes,
Yes,
we can.
Sushmit.
Yes.
Great. So just a very quick introduction on where Deakin is coming from. Deakin University is one of the top 1% universities globally, and we have about 40 years of since inception. We've been teaching 60,000 plus students each year, and about 10,000 international students from 120 countries each year. And when it comes to India engagement, it has been an outstanding 26 years of India engagement, and that is not just academia, but also industry and government. That is how and where these programs are curated from, and they are being designed just to meet the current and relevant demands from the corporate. Specifically, what Deacon Co. is, Deacon Co. is basically the corporate arm for the Deakin University. And we basically are focusing on workplace capabilities, uplifting it, helping organizations as well as professionals to shape up their, skills, their training and development activities, the L&D programs that they do, and help them, equip with and according to the dynamics that are, currently, on. And this is the slide I would want to focus on, and spend most of my time today, exactly resonating what Mr. Ajit mentioned before, as well as Shireen. Shireen, a very good example of doctors that you gave in terms of, how doctors have actually, gone ahead and, equipped themselves in terms of being more, techie, more, working on the apps, e-consultations, e-pharmacies. These are few innovations that we've seen lately, and especially with the COVID era. This has picked up, especially in India, and looking into the variable audience that we have, the population that we have. It wasn't very easy for us to reach everywhere, and as an organization, as an e-commerce platform, there are a lot of these platforms. They've reached everywhere. They've tried fitting in to this. So this is nothing but adaptation. This is nothing but coming into what is required. Now, I'll reflect upon a few things which, will take all of us back and realize what and where the change is happening. For example, many of the industries that are creating jobs today, that are creating buzz, they actually did not exist in the 1980s. Now, just a few examples there: IT service industry, IT enabled industry, organized modern retail, e-commerce, private sector insurance, private sector commercial banking, investment banking, venture capital private limited. All of them did not exist before. Look at any of the industries today, the chances are most of them did not exist 35 years ago. What does this mean? How will world be, 10 or 20 years ahead? The answer is we don't know. Nobody knew about the, the above developments in the 1980s. Nobody knows the future too. Very little that we know is, it's not constant. There'll be a change. Now, just relating it to an example, there used to be a long, waiting this thing for the landline registration, waiting list, about 18 to 14 years. There was a time when, people had to wait for 8 to 14 years just to get a landline registered, or probably buy a motorcycle and even get a gas cylinder. The point is, we have to plan for the next 20 to 30 years. Most of us in this session are young, and this is probably the right age for us to learn and acquire maximum skills, what we can, so that, and of course, keep innovating with time. And that is exactly what I'll be highlighting here in my speech further. And, we are looking to build our respective careers here. Some plans will be for the next 3 years, which will be a small term plan. All of you, I'm sure you look at that. Some will be for the longer term. Believe me, if this has happened before, in the last 35 years, something similar will happen in the next 35 years. There will be change. New industries will be born. Old ones will perish. New jobs will be created. Technology will evolve. Technology will change. The question is, how do you prepare yourself for the next 35 years of rapid change? What knowledge, what attitude, and what skills? One should, have to become employable. One has to grasp all of this somewhere or the other. To start with, it is very important to have an attitude that, enables you to be a lifetime learner. I say that because of the demand, the dynamics that we are in today, everywhere. It can be any sector. We have seen changes. If we don't acquire these, adapt rather to these changes, as Mr. Ajit mentioned, we will be out of the race. And There are three important aspects of becoming a valuable professional, and that is lifetime learning, humility, and respect. Now, these are very basic terms, but I'll tell you why I'm mentioning this here. Because never believe that you know it all. That is the first thing. Nobody knows it all. There is always a scope of uplifting oneself with new learnings. And also mentioned by Mr. Ajit, it is across all the levels. Even if a manager who's leading a team of, let's say, 50 people under him, he himself today has to uplift his skills. Now it's all about remote leadership. The fact that we are interacting over a online medium, this is nothing but adaptation. Most of the leadership companies, the leadership management roles have become very different than what they were before. And this is where a lot of training and learning and development activities are happening. Especially the corporates have taken it up very, very seriously. Also, most of the work, it comes with teams. So it's very important that we have the right attitude towards our role and, of course, our co-workers. Equally important is the skill set one possesses. This is exactly what I would draw all of your attention here. Is there are two types of skills that one can acquire. One is lifelong skills, which are also called foundational skills. There's another called current skills or technical skills. Now, foundational skills are skills which will never go out of fashion. Just to name a few: communication, critical thinking, innovation, digital literacy, adaptive mindset, teamwork, etc. All of these might sound very familiar to all of you, but then the relevance of these skills today is the most. Take it as an example, communication. And I think, Shireen, you mentioned this. There was a time when, there were no emails. There were no internet, nothing. I mean, there was no internet then. One used to have handwritten memos. We used typewriters then. But with time, communication has evolved, and exactly what you mentioned. Now there are lingos, in terms of WhatsApp communication, or it has become more evolved and faster and better. It has become more precise. Most jobs are done in communication with teams in collaboration. It can be a cross geographical communication. It can be a cross cultural communication. Somebody working in the UK or in the US, etc., would be able to work in collaboration with someone in India. It is only possible if the communication modes and forms are used, they are the efficient ones. And that is exactly what acquiring new skills is. And communication is not just, this is just an example I'm giving. It is not just talking. It is not just, expressing yourself. It is also about formal communication, writing mails or anything, even listening for that matter. The fundamental thing is to work with people, irrespective of the industry you are in. Wherever we go, we'll have a team to work with. Even if you're not managing it, you will still have to be a people, you will have to have possess rather people skills. This brings in communicating efficiently, working as a team, and also adapting to the variable thoughts and cultural centricity that each one brings to the team. Very, very critical. And to do that, one needs to, have good soft skills. One needs to be a good communicator, team worker, critical thinker, etc. We call them, human-centered skills in Deacon Co, because, we can relate to that more. There's some other skills like self-management, etc., can also come into this. Another skill that is important is numeracy skills. Now, a lot of work, that we do involves some element of numbers to it. Might not be a detailed one for some of us, but it can be, just a bit around it. Therefore, one needs to be financially literate to understand the overall financial being of the organization. Now, these are the foundational skills. These are the lifelong, skills that you got to keep learning, keep adapting to it, keep adding, as the value add skills. Now, this next set of skills, which are the current skills, more to do with the technical skills that we have. Now, the foundational skills are likely to keep you in your job, doing well, because you are good in communication, because you're good with people, because you're good with numbers, and hopefully it will give you get you into a better job, the next one. But the current skills that you got to figure out from the market, depending upon your ability, your interests, and the opportunities out there. There's a lot of new skills. You talk about artificial intelligence, you talk about business analytics, you talk about business intelligence. There's so much to talk about, data science. But this is current. That's exactly my point. This is current. This will change. This is something which will depend on what the market is, will depend on what your interests are, will of course depend on variably upon the opportunities out there. It could be analytics, but for this one, one needs to be good with numbers. If you're not, then might not be your cup of tea. Is it social media marketing or relationship management skills? Understand your interests and abilities in acquiring one or two narrow vertical skills, which are the current skills. A combination of this along with the required foundational skills will bring you closer to the desired job. All in all, I would say all of us should invest in ourselves, invest in our career, invest in our development, because that's how you will get your desired opportunities. It's just that you got to develop a talent for which there is a market. And there are two things that I'll keep you all, with. One, of course, I've mentioned this before, foundational skills, which are the lifelong skills, the basic skills. This keeps changing, this keeps evolving. What you have to, upskill with time, you got to understand that. Narrow vertical skills, again, is the current skill that you're interested in, that you want to, imbibe one or two narrow skills so that you are always current. The key things to focus is continuously upskill to be relevant to the market, invest on yourself to upskill, and because time is moving fast, act now. In life, skills and knowledge go hand in hand, but in times like these, it is very important to upskill oneself timely according to the current demand and one's own limitations to be amongst the most employable ones in the market. A simple fact of change and evolution with time and market demands is, for a lifelong learner, today's market, today's narrow vertical skill may no longer be relevant for tomorrow's, because if you pick up 2 or 3 vertical skills in addition, in that case, you will still be relevant. You will still be current. I will very quickly jump on to how Deacon Co can help you. This is just to give you an idea of what industry demands, where we are in terms of dynamics, where we are in terms of understanding what we need to do to be there, as being one of the most employable ones, and how now Deacon Co is helping you all is what we'll be talking about in brief. These are a few courses that are mentioned here. Some of them I've just mentioned about communication, financial literacy. Customer experience is one such skill which, more often than not, at some point or the other, we all somewhere have to face or rather, interact with a customer, and one needs to have those skills. So this has become a very, very important skill today. Digital literacy, without a doubt, is the, the icing on the cake if you can have this, especially being, I'm sure most of us are aware of this because of the, the demand, but then there's so much more to the digital literacy, which this course will, make you understand. There's so much more that we should be knowing, and, just to stay relevant. Now, there are 2 levels that we offer these courses, just for your information. One is foundation, which is for the early starters. Just to give you some details, if you are a master's student, you can also do the same. If you're a graduate student, you can also do these courses, the short courses for foundation level. If you're a master's student, And maybe if you're working with about 2 years or 3 years of experience, you can go for the proficient level. So these are mapped according to your levels. And this will, of course, as I said before, these are courses designed by industry practitioners with with their inputs, because they understand what is in the demand, and that is how it is designed, just to fit it, according to the need. Of course, these are the completely online, 100% online courses, and it's a self-paced course. You can study from anywhere, anytime, around around the world, and at your ease. Because one good feature that everyone likes about this course is you can pause and play. Basically, if I'm doing a course today, right now, and I have something to do, I can stop it here, pause it here, and then again restart and finish it later. Very quickly, to highlight the course features, 100% online, I've already mentioned. One can complete these courses in about 4 to 6 hours. These are bite-sized courses. I must say bite-sized, but they are very, very impactful. It'll give you all the relevant things that you need. Get recognized with your, with your certification that you will be getting. Of course, this is an international certification with Deakin that is attached. And of course, be in demand, globally respected, and industry, because these are the skills which are, as I mentioned before, the employers want. So you will be in demand. Once you complete these courses, you can always showcase them, on your professional handles. And exactly what is mentioned here, there'll be a digital badge which will be given after the completion. There'll be a certificate of excellence. And of course, the benefits are you're future-proofing your career, you're enhancing your career, you're building a set of skills, which is the key today. Capabilities, not just for a fresher, but for everyone at every level, just to stay relevant. And with that international certification, it is always a plus. I wanted to put this pricing here because, and also, as Mr. Ajit mentioned about how important it is, in terms of the pricing, and we have actually put it across in a very reasonable amount that way. And so you can either go for a single course, which will cost you about 3,750 rupees for a foundation level, and a 4,000 rupee for a proficient level. But if you plan to do it in a cluster, which we always recommend, it will give you some discount there. And well, let's say a cluster of 4 will be for 15,000 rupees. And for foundation, it will be for 13,000 rupees. And there's the link, deaconcoindia.com. You can visit and register yourself. Of course, there'll be IMC team members and myself as well will be helping you out with the registrations. There is a referral code to be used. I would request Shireen, Anita, we can probably display that referral code after this presentation. And yep, this is it from my end. This is it from the things that we are offering. I will be happy to answer any questions on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sushmit. And I think, a lot of the courses that you mentioned here, what we are seeing in terms of industry requirements and what professionals are asking for, it is absolutely relevant. So, and I do know, I think during your session, I believe you have mentioned that these are in line with discussions from industry, which have helped develop these courses to make them so future relevant, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to post the IMC code now.
In case you want me to share that.
I can just put it in the chat here.
Yeah.
So I guess now it's time to open the floor to question and answers. And I thought I could lead it a little bit, especially considering that we have been talking to a lot of IMC members and we've been talking to a lot of young people entering the workforce. And I think the understanding of self-learning is a little difficult, different, or probably perhaps needs a bit of more detailed explanation. Because the question that we get a lot is, how can we finish the course in 4 to 6 hours? Can you give us a little more detail on the structure? Is it module by module or lesson plan by lesson plan? Is there a progression path? Because definitely the pause and play, I think it was a great point that you raised. Because for someone who is caught up in a very heavy work timeline, that works. But for someone who is, ready to join the workforce, they want a shorter program which they can finish perhaps even in a day. And I think this does allow them to do that.
Exactly my point, Shireen. You know, it's it's apt to the demand what is there from the corporate, from the people. Because they are busy. There's a lot of work they're already into. So, and one needs to upskill. This course, each of these courses, they are designed in a way, in a very unique way, I must say. Of course, it is module wise. There are topics to cover. There are reading materials that you can go for, and the entire journey itself will be not just reading and just probably not just theoretical. It'll be much more. It'll be interactive. There'll be a few videos which will be linked to it. There'll be market related videos as well. For example, if there is a customer experience course that one is doing, so there'll be examples to it. One would be able to relate, and if, let's say, a person who is actually doing that job, the person will be able to understand it, relate it even better. So that's where these courses are unique. And also I would want to highlight this here. Yes, 4 or 6 hours of input of reading, learning, whatever knowledge grasping, you might think it's less, but at the end of it, you have a set of questions, 10 or 15, depends on what level you are. Those questions, now, unless you answer them all correctly, you won't be able to go ahead. You won't be able to pass the course. To be able to do that, you got to read, you got to watch all the videos, you got to understand what the material is, you got to understand what the journey is. So it's not just buying certificates here. It is, of course, understanding, grasping that knowledge, and then achieving that certificate. So that's where the courses are very relevant and are very fun to do. And pausing and playing is one feature which has actually been accepted very widely, because that is something which is the current demand. People are busy. If there is a weekend, if you're putting 2 hours, 3 hours, I would say if one is able to do it in a stretch, it is always better, because the retaining bit is a bit more that way. Because more often than not, if there is a pause, I've noticed, unless the student is very bright, I've noticed the student, probably, is going back and reading the same thing again, just because one of the questions might just be incorrect. So this happens because, if I'm doing it today, I'm doing it after probably 3-4 days, I'll probably forget what I've seen or read. So yeah, these are very unique courses, and there shouldn't be any problem in terms of understanding it. And the journey is fun, and it's very relatable to your current work.
That's great. I have a question that has come in talking about how best to look at packaging programs, because I think it stems from the idea that quite a few of the topics are relevant. So, do they book it one after the other, or do they take a whole package?
So the key here is, if you take the entire package, it will, give you some discount. So if you really want to do it, and I think that's the way to go about it, then why not do it together and, get that discount? Secondly, more than that, one needs to realize what is the combination that you would want and, is useful for your current role. That is the key. For example, if I suggest today as generic, what is the demand, what is the most top rated 5 skills that people are actually looking at. It will be customer centricity skills, the customer experience program that we have, digital literacy, communication, financial literacy, and there's one more. Let me just data-driven marketing. I think we did a session on this before. So this is because we need data. We need data. We need to understand what how the data is reflecting upon, what are the changes we need to do in the future campaigns, etc. All of that, and then communication. Again, we've discussed it all in my previous talk, and digital literacy again being very in. So probably make a combination of these four relevant skills. If someone has a strong communication background, just leave that, add others. If someone is not very good with finance, probably financial literacy, very, very important. One needs to understand numbers. So it depends on each individual, what one wants to, what one lacks. And of course, when it comes to cost, it is more effective when you do it in a bunch of four.
So if I can just summarize this, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, the idea is that these courses are designed to help you fill a gap that might be existing, not advance or not necessarily advance a skill set. I'm sure there might be many other courses which actually work on that ideology. But at this point of time, if, say, for example, as Mr. Sushmit mentioned earlier, if you have communications and if you feel it's your strong point, the idea is to identify what is the course or program that can complement it, that can help you advance your career on that.
Absolutely, Shireen. And also, we are talking about maximum proficient level people here. So one needs to understand these courses are mapped according to their level. So if we actually try attempting, something above that, it is not relevant. It probably not now. You can do it later. Yeah, there are courses, we have at all the levels. But today we are talking about this proficient level, and it is about grasping what is required around your workplace environment. As I was mentioning, these are the foundational skills which you need for lifelong. You've got to grasp them, and then a few technical skills to add on. You might be a very good technical person. Just a very quick example here. You might be a very good IT person. You might just do a very good job there when in an independent role. But the moment you are in a team, you need people skills. You need self-management. You need communication. You need financial, everything, all of it, digital literacy, because that is where you got to survive. And eventually you will end up being in a team. It is all about teamwork today, collaboration. So that's why I say 1 or 2 technical skills as per your interests, and around it, all of these skills somewhere or the other, depending upon your role, club it together, have them. And you got to keep upskilling yourself, as Mr. Ajit also mentioned before. You got to keep upskilling yourself every now and then. It's not just about today, probably about 5 years down the line, you got to do it again.
I think best way to stay relevant.
Yep.
So there's, I think we might have time for maybe another 2 questions. So if that's okay. I think this is a very specific course, saying that I'm already a working professional in the communications industry. And what course do you think would be most beneficial to me? So I think here it is whether so I think we have addressed it to some extent, saying that if you're already in the communication space, perhaps a communication course may be something that you can keep aside and look for something else. But are you able to suggest, maybe from your experience, what are the kind of combination programs that students take from here?
The ones I just mentioned, that's exactly what is in the demand. And digital literacy, financial literacy, and data-driven marketing. Again, if a person is in communication, I'm not very sure how much of data the person is using. But then again, it depends on the role. At the same time, let me quote here. So in one of the sessions that we had with Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, someone asked, and I'll say that here. Someone asked, what is the right age to start skilling yourself? What is the right time to start upskilling yourself? And he goes, can you tell me the right age to fall in love? And we were like, okay. And, we could understand, that's exactly what is there when it comes to skilling, upskilling. There's no right age. In fact, the sooner you do, better it is.
And I think the fact of the matter that skilling is being addressed in the national education policy versus traditional education is a reflection of where the government is also going with the priority on skilling. So I would definitely agree with your comments on that. Another question is, if they are a student, can they take up a proficient level, or when do they decide whether the student level or the proficient level is better
So
applicable?
if they are master student, they can go for a proficient level. If they are a graduate student, just finished BTech,
Okay.
bachelor, whatever, then it will be a foundation level. Anything
Okay.
above masters till 5 years of work,
Yeah.
it is this thing, proficient. There might be some overlapping. I must also say this, there might be some overlapping, but more often than not, it suits that person.
Yeah. And it can even start with high school, as I understand, because
Yes.
innovation is happening a lot in the school space, and young minds are able to think about things that we don't foresee as yet. So we are seeing, future entrepreneurs in school. And I think they have the opportunity today to be able to explore a lot. So we are seeing a lot of enterprise coming out of high school students, because that's the time they can really get to explore it. So as I understand, Sushmit, even a high school student can enroll for the student level programs on
Yes.
the other spectrum.
Yes. In fact, thank you so much for mentioning this innovation, skill, because this is again one of the skills that I missed. Innovation today, we need innovation. We need that critical thinking approach in the times that we are. So very important. If you can have that as an add-on, as a value add, you'll always be recruited for that.
Thank you so much. I am going to ask if there are any further questions and to post it in the chat box, either to the moderator or in the group. So I think we have all the information, and we're very happy to connect with each of our participants here today to make one-on-one connections and help them identify what might be the most suitable skill set for them to undertake and how they can start their journey in this whole upskilling process. Thank you so much to our speakers, Mr. Sushmit, and our Director General, Mr. Ajit. Thank you so much for your valuable time. Thank you for the participants attending today's session. And all the contact numbers, including our social handles, are posted in the chat box right now. So please feel free to give us a call or email us as is required. I think Ms. Anita Nayak's email address is also posted in the chat box. So we are very happy to take these conversations forward with you. And thank you everybody for being here today.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you, Sushmit. And thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks all. Okay.